In this video, I'd like to talk just about some of the basics about the immune system. Don't worry, no heavy science jargon. We're not going to show pictures of cells and histology and things like that. But I think before we delve into a major system like the immune system, we should get sort of an overview as to some of the things about it. Because if you understand what we ask from the immune system and its general structure, then it tends to make much more sense. And if you're just watching this out of general interest, I hope this will pique your curiosity enough that you may want to watch some of my other more in-depth videos about things such as the different parts of the immune system. So come along on this journey as we stroll through beautiful Stanley Park on a rainy spring day and talk about some generalities about the immune system. So come on along for the trip. So what is the immune system? Probably best to say what it isn't. The immune system is not like many of the traditional systems you may think of. It's not like the cardiovascular system where you have a heart here and blood vessels here. Or the GI tract where you have large intestine, small intestine, sigmoid colon, stomach, esophagus. The immune system is a collective. It's a group of proteins, it's groups of cells, it's groups of tissues. Some of them are not terribly organized. Some of them are highly organized with capsules on the outside. And it's spread through almost all the body. Notice I said almost all the body. There are parts where the immune system doesn't hang out that much. And it's really this collective that keeps us safe. The other thing to know about the immune system is don't think of it as bigger is better. You often hear the phrase, strengthen the immune system. And to me, as a biologist, that always just throws me off completely, because it's a bit of a misunderstanding that most people have about the immune system. You know, they think it's like a muscle, that if I train that muscle, the muscle's going to get bigger and better, and that's always the best. Where, as with the immune system, it really is about details. It really is about the subtleties and the interactions. I like to think of the immune system more as sort of a circus act, a high wire act, where you want to stay on that narrow path. If you go too much to the right, you're in trouble. You're going to fall off. Too much to the left, you're going to fall off. So an immune system that is overactive is as much danger to you as potentially any pathogen that you may come across. And on the other side, immune system that is underperforming leaves you open for opportunistic infections to come in and cause you harm. So in many ways, the immune system is very unique. Well, what are some of the things that drive the immune system, or parts of it? As I said, we have barriers. Your skin's a barrier. Inside a lot of the openings to your body, you have these moist, sticky membranes, mucous membranes, that help to trap pathogens, and also often have antimicrobial agents within them that you've secreted in them to sort of reduce the amount of pathogens that can live there. We also have a number of cells that are involved in the immune system. Some of them are generalists. They deal with, or try to deal with, almost every range of pathogen you can think of. Others are specialists that really try and focus in on very specific cells. The immune system also has a number of proteins that have a role. And the one that most people know are antibodies. Antibodies are proteins. And that makes sense because in the world of proteins, you can make very complex shapes. And your shape is everything as a protein. So that allows us to make antibodies that can tailor fit pathogens like a lock and a key type fit. The other group of proteins that really make up a significant part of the immune system are a group called the complement system. And the complement system are a number of proteins that do quite a few different tasks. And really that requires its own video to go into detail. Now, in terms of cells, we have lots of different types of white blood cells. And there's two major groups in terms of how they look under a microscope. One are the granulocytes. Now, think of the name. In the world of histology, they call things like they saw it. So granulocytes look like they have granules inside. And there's a group of those. And some of that group would be things such as neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. And they all have very interesting looking nuclei, but we'll leave the histology aside for now. Then there's another group. So if I'm going to call one group granulocytes, the other group are the ones without obvious granules. And those are the agranulocytes. And the two big categories within there would be a group called the monocytes, and the next one are the lymphocytes. Now, you almost need an organizational chart at this point, because the lymphocytes come in two types, major types. You got the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. Now, the B lymphocytes, what's their main thing? Well, if they become activated, they're the ones that make antibodies against a specific pathogen. So they deal with pathogens that are outside cells, because antibodies can't get inside a cell to try and fix up the mess and get rid of the infection. So they deal with basically tissue fluid, stuff in tissue fluids outside cells, like outside your liver cell, etc. Whereas the T lymphocytes, now I don't want you to think that there's just one type of T lymphocyte. There's a whole specialized army of them. We have T helper cells. Now with a name like that, it gives you a clue. They help to coordinate the immune system. They help to approve the plan of attack, to turn on other cells, to help upregulate parts of the immune system, and eventually help to regulate downregulation of parts of the immune system after you fought off an infection. There's also another group called cytotoxic T cells. Very important cell. These are a type of cell that can have the ability to recognize if a cell has become infected or has become cancerous and mount an attack on it. Now, unfortunately, cytotoxic T cells cannot just go and repair a cell that's infected or has turned cancerous. Its strategy is, well, if I can't fix you and you're a problem, I'm going to get rid of you. And they're very serious when they get rid of cells that they've identified are a problem. They do things like make a group of proteins and puke them out, which will self-assemble into basically what looks like a syringe that will inject itself into that infected cell or that cancerous cell. And in the world of cells, having a hole in you is not good, because basically, well, frankly, you puke out your guts and you die. But the cytotoxic T cells don't just stop there. Not only do they put holes in these cells, they release a bunch of chemicals that'll go inside and kind of devour it and ruin it from the inside. And they're very serious about that. So, the immune system is a very complex group of, as I said earlier, tissues, cells, barriers, proteins that all work together to try and keep you alive. Another important aspect about the immune system is communications. How different cells in the immune system talk to each other. And there's a whole host of chemicals that they use. Often you'll hear about things like interleukin, and there's a whole number of interleukins out there, cytokines. And these are chemicals that help to say, hey, could you help me out with this? Could we coordinate an attack? Often when you feel sick and feel that feeling, some of that's the effect of these chemical communication molecules that are going back and forth between the various cells. And this is one reason, the immune system you shouldn't consider as a muscle where bigger's better, because certainly a extreme immune response can get the body into a lot of trouble. And we certainly saw this with, let's take the most recent example, COVID. Those of us that were very susceptible to COVID and moved on to that massive inflammatory phase of COVID really had to deal with consequences of a lot of these inflammatory chemicals causing some real difficulties in other organ systems. So I'll go back to the original point that the immune system is a balancing act, right? It's like the trail I'm on right now. You want to stay in the middle here. You don't want to end up on the swamp on either side. And how do we maintain that? Well, I don't think there's any golden rule. I think it's, your immune system comes down to partly your genetics, what you've been exposed to in the past, who our distant ancestors are and what we inherited from them. There's some really interesting science chit-chat about maybe the role of some of the genes Neanderthals passed on to Homo sapiens sapiens, which is us. And hey, just try and lead a healthy lifestyle. Seems like it. Try and get out, reduce stress, get good sleep, good nutrition, and hopefully your immune system will be there for you for a full, happy life. So those are just some real basic thoughts on the immune system, and try and give you a bit of a flavor about what it is, what it does. And if this is of interest, I'll certainly have a lot more videos going into details about the different aspects of the immune system.